Star Wars Rebels Season 4, Episodes 10 and 11, Jedi Knight and Dume. So, of course, this is the mid season premiere, 2 episodes coming back, and it was just sad. This was kind of one of those things where I think everyone kind of saw it coming. We just didn't know who it was going to be. Because going forward, it was like, all right, well, at this point, like once Rogue One hit, it was like, all right, how are they tying it in? We knew that the ghost was there. They have that reference in there, so obviously, Hera is still alive. Like the reference was it could have been Hera, it could have possibly been her father because they just said, Captain Syndulla, or General, I believe. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, going forward, what is going to happen? What are the answers going to be? How are these characters not involved? You have potentially two Jedi, so what's going to happen here? And this was the episode that kind of answered one of those questions because, of course, we lose Kanan in the first part by the end. And going into this episode, I technically knew because it got spoiled for me because my dad is one of the shows my dad and I both actually watch. So while I was editing, he had it blasting like he was trying to actually have the people from Star Wars actually hear it. So every time I would pause editing my podcast, I would hear some random line. And I was like, I'm trying not to hear anything. And of course, because it's my life. One of the times I paused, it was exactly when Hera was like, if I listened to Kanan, he'd still be alive. And I was like, well, totally spoiled that for me. But it wasn't one of those things that ruined the episode. Of course, it was a surprise, obviously. But I knew something happened because one of the things I heard before was Ezra saying, like, someone was gone. And it was like, you mean captured? And it was like, no. And I was like, that means somebody died. And I didn't know who they were talking about at that point. And I thought it was Sabine, and then I heard her voice, and I was like, okay, it's not Sabine. So maybe it was just some, random person from, one of the other characters. And just watching the episode, the first part, definitely awesome. And they were pretty much doing everything they did in the, I want to say was it this, I can't even remember if it was the mid-season finale or if it was like, I think it was, the mid-season finale. Or maybe last season's finale when it was like, it seems like they're basically leading up to everything being Kanan's about to die. But I do believe it was the mid-season finale. And it was just him and Hera with all the relationship stuff. And like they're actually talking about their relationship. And it's like, it's getting a little suspicious there. It's oddly close. Final season, final things. And they were kind of teasing that before when they were actually on, on their base on the planet. And we thought Kanan was going to die back then. And so it was like, they've been teasing us. They've been showing us like this was a long time coming. And I like the way they did it. I thought it was handled very well with the way they had him change his hairstyle. I believe that was in reference to, and I could totally be wrong. I don't think it's exactly the same, but I think that was at least somewhat in reference to the comic, which was, I believe it's titled Kanan, the Last Padawan, and it's about his story of survival during Order 66. So I think that's what that was. Something that they totally did that I loved was him cutting off like the little bun. That's a very samurai-esque thing. A lot of you, if you're watching Star Wars, you're probably Avatar fans, so you guys might remember that back from the first series in Avatar when Zuko and Iroh did that, and they like cut their ponytails off as like a kind of a thing of almost dishonor, but in this case it was almost reversed a little bit. So I like how they did that, and he shaves and cuts his hair and everything and clean shaven, and he goes in and it was really good. I like the way they handled it. He ends up saving Hera and he gets her family relic back, which I thought was pretty cool too. And they go through, and she was kind of funny in this because she was basically drugged up, so she was on like this super truth serum and stuff. And it was a different version of her where she's saying all these different things. And I love some of the lines where she's like, "Oh, this is mine." He's like, "Yeah, I know." It's like, so it's not really a gift. Like that I thought was a really funny line, but them going through that whole process and just the whole mission itself, I thought was entertaining. And then of course it gets to the end, and I thought it was honestly going to happen when they had it was Kanan and Hera when they were running together, and it was a great looking shot. It was just the two of them running, and it was basically a hallway, but it wasn't just the way they had it structured. It looked like it was them running down a hallway with like light at the end. And it was when they get to the fuel depot, I thought something was gonna happen right there because I'm like, that's almost like the perfect shot to lead into this dramatic moment. But they get to the top, everything's kind of going well, and then they destroy the fuel depot, and Kanan has to sacrifice himself, and he uses the Force. And of course, it was like the coolest way to ever do it, where he's legitimately stopping the actual explosion from reaching them. And of course, it just looks super cool. And so he's using the Force, and then of course Hera wants to save him, and so he stops her and pushes her back into the ship, and then when they're all in there, he has to turn around and sacrifice himself and make sure the ship is pushed far away enough to not be hit by the explosion. So definitely, sad ending for the first part. Great way to end it with the way they did the title card at the end, where it was like white and the lettering was gray. I thought that looked absolutely amazing. I was like, that is a great visual representation to kind of honor this character. So I love that for sure. Going into the second part of the premiere, definitely interesting. It was watching the characters as they all have to deal with this, and we see, Hera and Ezra kind of branch off from pretty much everyone else, and they have to deal with it in their own ways. And then you have Sabine and Zeb, and they kind of go with the revenge route really fast. So I thought that was interesting to watch, and they kind of took the focus where, Hera definitely has her moment with Chopper, which I love the moment when they first get back, and Chopper actually goes to hold her hand. I was like, I thought that was great considering Chopper's, character, always fighting and being silly. I love that moment. I was like, that's so simple, but I mean, we have 4 seasons of this little robot just, effing with Zeb, effing with Ezra, just always making jokes and swearing and stuff. So that was just it's very simple, but I really love the way they handled that moment. So I thought that was great. But she had her moment, and of course Ezra had his as well. And then Zeb, trying to get revenge, and he's fighting. I totally forgot the name of that creature, but he and Sabine have to fight him, and then he goes invisible. Because I was like, finally, I was excited to kind of see that character get beat up, because he's always just flipping over everybody. And then he was like, well, I'm not here to play fair either. And then he turned invisible. I was like, he always has something up his sleeve. He's either just insanely hard to kill or even beat up, or he gets surrounded and he's like, okay, I'm invisible now. So that was still a cool fight sequence, but they end up getting him, and Zeb was about to kill him, and Sabine had to stop him. So I like the way it was all handled, and just seeing how everybody was processing it, at least in this first episode. And of course, we'll see that throughout, these last episodes. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Of course, they realized that the fuel depot being destroyed basically helped them succeed in the mission that they wanted. Something that they couldn't do, they got it. And, unfortunately, it came from Kanan's sacrifice, but that did allow them to score this huge victory, and now everything is like shut down. So I'm looking forward to how that's going to play out. They're going for the Jedi Temple first because they have to save that. And Ezra was on his crazy journey with the wolves. So I'm definitely looking forward to how that's going to play out, and how they're still focused on, Kanan and his ties to pretty much everything related to the Force. It was very interesting. Like, they were still focused on him, and then the giant wolf was asking Ezra, like, why did you run, and you have to fight back and stuff like that. So I thought that was very interesting. I was like, this is super weird that he's going through this. Like, he continues this weird journey, this weird like Force/spiritual journey with them. So looking forward to how that's gonna keep going. And they showed in the promo where he, turns on the lightsaber and the wolves are behind him. So he's gonna continue that bond that he has with them. So I'm looking forward to that building up, and I'm looking forward to these last episodes. I don't really know how many we have. I don't want to know. I never want to be like counting down the episodes, so I always stay away from exactly how many we have. But it was a sad comeback, but it was definitely good. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, rest of the series, I guess. But definitely sad first half. But it's Star Wars. It could be bad depending on what you think. But I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts. Probably super obvious least favorite part about it. And I definitely want to know how you think the characters will handle this loss going forward. Like, what is going to happen with our main group of characters? We have the widow, if we're going that route. So we have the widow, kind of the son in a sense, and then you have like the brother and the sister, when you kind of look at it in that regard of that family. So I would love to know your thoughts on what's going to happen there, how the characters are going to react. I'm very curious if they're going to kind of go a little bit with Ezra, kind of the dark side stuff. They had a crazy sequence with the promo with him going up against Palpatine. I don't know what that means, but I can't wait for that. And it just looks super cool. It's like blue flames, or it was lightning mixed with fire. I couldn't really tell, but I was like, whatever that is, can't wait for that episode because that looks super cool. But I'd love to know where you guys think things are headed. And like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.